First panelist, Rika Nakazawa, Executive Head, Global Strategic Innovation at ATT, incredible woman, Forbes Top 50, VC, and best-selling author. It's unbelievable that all of that could fit in one person profile, to be honest. Oscar Pierre. Oscar, please join us. Oscar is co-founder and CEO of Glovo, and he's also investing via Yellow VC. And one more time, thanks Oscar and his team for hosting us today. One more round of applause. And please welcome Radomir Novkovich, LP at Hi-Fi Ventures, co-founder and board member at Kiss My Apps. This is for whom who don't know, but you should. It's 9-figure ARR app building, and founder and CEO at Salda Apps, fintech founder. And my name is Iryna Manukovska. I help AI and deep tech startups with go-to-market. And I'm very happy to be here today to guide you and myself through this wisdom. So, we have a new metric in 2026, which is compute cost. Maybe some of you already heard about that. And whenever you build an AI or non-AI startups, you may have been asked, where is AI inside of your operations? And proprietary data and proprietary workflows become must. So sounds like it's going to be a very tough year for startups. Don't you think, Rika?
When you say tough in terms of having all the data and the information needed, or?
I mean for funding, operating, and like the bar is very high.
Yeah, the bar is very high. Well, I think one of the great things that's happening in the startup ecosystem is that the VC field has become a lot more diverse. You don't have your typical Silicon Valley VCs anymore. You have private equity that's coming into the landscape, and you also have now family offices. And so in some ways things have gotten more difficult, but in other ways things have gotten a lot more interesting, I think, in terms of how a VC is going to measure your success. Because in the case of some family offices, they may not be interested in the 10x, 100x multiplier in 7 to 10 years' time. They might be thinking more legacy and next generations of the impact of your startup that is beyond just pure P&L and force multiplier on their revenue. So, and also there's a lot more access to inspiration and role models that are going to be able to guide the way for you. And I think the democratization of technology, which humbly we at NTT are also advancing with our global presence, is something that makes it the bar lower in many regards. I do a lot in space and satellite, for example, so space tech is also a place of great interest for a lot of startups, and there are people that are exiting SpaceX, selling their shares privately to do that. Used to be that it would have been impossible to do a startup in space tech simply because the cost was so high. So I think you have a lot of graphs that are going in various directions, and like sound waves, when you have one graph going like this and another one going like that, sometimes the challenge and the opportunities kind of level out along the way.
Thank you, Oscar. And what are your thoughts? How this 2026 is quite different to previous years when you were funding for Glovo?
I mean, more than Glovo, we're also investing via Yellow VC. How is this different? I think it's just a lot harder to predict. When you see a founder pitching the roadmap, I'm always left like, okay, this story might change completely in 2-3 months' time. No? So from Yellow, that we invest in the first check, it's more than ever before. We just focus a lot on the person. No? So I think we have moved. It was already a thesis, no, to invest in great founders, more than the idea and the let's say the space. But now it's even more important, no? Because you want to make sure that whatever happens with the future of technologies, that person will be able to adapt.
What are those qualities? Like name 3.
What are those qualities?
Yeah, with the founder. What can guarantee this kind of resilience you are looking for?
Yeah. So. Super hard-working mentality, no, like 24/7. Very high IQ, and just the 2 basic things that.
Do they need some kind of emotional quotient as well? I mean, not only IQ, but EQ, for instance.
Was that right?
I mean, emotional quotient, you know, this like empathy and stuff. Or
Yeah, and then any track record, no? Sorry, I didn't understand the question. That's why.
No. This was some kind of icebreaker. So there is an
Okay.
IQ, which measures intellect, and there is emotional quotient, which measures actually how you respond to people, how you feel your customers, and how empathetic you are. Not in terms that you're feeling sorry for everyone in this room, but you're able to hear different perspectives. I think it's also very important when you get feedback from VCs that you're not so obsessed with only your own point of view.
Irene. And now the last thing we look for a lot in founders is founder market fit. No? So when there's the person that understands very well a space, not only understands, but is obsessed about the space, I think it makes things a lot easier.
Radomir, what's your perspective?
Well, I think it's much easier in 2026 to build product, launch with all these AI tools, but it's easier not just for you and for your competitors as well. So the market is more like much more product appeared on the market every day, and from investor perspective, like 5 years ago, for example, traction was enough to raise funds. But today, traction it's easier to bring the product on the market within a few days and have your early adopters. And traction is not enough, it's just the opening point for conversation about investing. And what's actually important, the defensibility of this startup. Because if you can bring this product within a few days, why another company and other founders cannot bring your competitors in the next weekend? So defensibility of this product, and from competitors, and from actually if you build some AI tool or AI agent, why OpenAI or Anthropic won't launch this in their core product. So I think
it's more like 26/7, not 24/7, yeah?
Yeah.
Sounds optimistic. So, and the next question I would like to address to Oscar. Oscar unfortunately needs to leave a little bit earlier. So, Oscar, you've been both angel and devil. You were your founder yourself, and now you're acting also as a VC. So, on your perspective, what's one number early stage startups are usually obsessed or married to, and that's actually skilling them in 2026. So what they overestimate, I mean, what kind of metric they think is important, but it's not.
In early stage founders, you mean?
Yeah.
So what do they overestimate? It's a good question.
I think a lot has changed in 2026, that's why I'm asking this question yet. People in the room, to reshape their slides a little bit.
What do they overestimate? I think probably, this is the first thing that comes to my mind, but this is not new to 2026, is the investors they bring in. I think we see all the time founders really obsessing about bringing this business angel because he has done this and that and he can help me with. At the end, you're alone, building your thing, and whoever you have in your cap table can. It's just like this small topics, no? But I'm not answering your question because you're referring to specifically 2026, and I don't know.
Okay, what's the most important metric you're looking for in startups you're investing in via Yellow VC?
What's the most important metric?
Yeah.
No, we invest with no metrics. Usually.
It sounds very optimistically. We can delete all metrics from our slides. It's good.
Most of the time we invest with no metrics. Yeah, free product or free go-to-market. Yeah.
Do you want to jump, Rika?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I'm willing to put my neck out here on the line to say that I think startups in 2026 are perhaps overestimating the addressable market. Because one of the things that's happening with the geopolitical situation being what it is, and I'll leave it as neutral as that, and by the way, I sound American, but I'm not. I'm actually Japanese passport carrying citizen here, and my mother's German, so I have half of me is, my heart is here in Europe. So when we talk about addressable market, it used to be that we would look at the world as our oyster, and I think right now what we see in technology and at NTT is sovereign, right? Sovereign data, sovereign AI, private AI, being able to bring, ironically, things back on-prem, as it were, and instead of having cloud and data centers, bringing that onto your own private instance to have better control and better manage risk and have resilience and all of this. So I think there might be some sobering that needs to happen and a double check. Not that I think that every addressable market figure is out the window, but I think it's just making sure that as you're doing your lean, agile exercise of getting out of the building and talking to customers, checking that or adding that as a box to say, how is this different now in terms of the technology that we'd use because we're based in X, or because we're using this cloud provider, or we're using this kind of technology from this country. And so that's maybe one thing I would throw out there.
It's very important, just because we used to think in these terms from some kind of physical product, those who have supply chain, but technology also has its supply chain, and sovereignty means a lot today with all this geopolitical craziness. Radomir, would you like to add something on this one? What metrics you're focusing on within companies you're building, like Nerd?
Metrics, so I'm building B2C app, but it's not the point because we are talking about different types of startups. That's funny that Oscar invests in startups without metrics, because usually it gives startups a higher valuation, because when startup already has some revenue, some traction, the valuation of this startup is just the revenue multiplied for some multiplier. It depends on the type of business. But when there is nothing, I mean, no traction, no revenue, investors usually invest in the hope, in dreams, in the vision. It's usually higher than for startups with some metrics and some traction. Yeah. That's my thing.
Okay, amazing. Thank you. Oscar, I know that you need to leave, so let's give a round of applause to Oscar. Thank you so much for joining today. And I would like to address the next question to Radomir. So there is a dream, or there is a rumor that founders are quite, control freaks, and we have a dream of total control over the thing we are building. And now with the agentic AI, it's quite possible. So Peter Steinberg, example, the OpenClaw he sold to OpenAI, is an example of one-man unicorn, which Sam Altman predicted only in 2028. So Radomir, on your perspective, it's going to be like a new way of building apps and startups, just one-man show for early stages, or
one-woman show.
Or one-woman show, yeah, this is great, but I want to deep dive on this one just because we have more time to have your perspective on women-founded startups, because we have a lot of women founders today, and it's quite different for women founders than for men founders, still. Radomir?
Yeah, well, I consider this OpenClaw acquisition as a quick hire, not just a real unicorn. Actually, we don't know the exact valuation. We just can think that it's going to be more than 1 billion, but we don't know yet. So I consider it as a quick hire. So they OpenAI bought not a startup, not a product, but the founder, the person. So
So it's just very huge signing bonus.
yeah, we can say that way. So speaking of real one-man unicorns possibility, actually people usually think about leveraging AI to this situation. And let's think how AI can leverage actually in different things. First thing, you can launch the product, you can build the product quicker. Actually, we saw many Twitters tweets or LinkedIn posts that I launched this startup last weekend and already had traction. I spent just a few days building this product, and it's
I
already
presume their lifespan would be pretty similar to a few days as well, or maybe a few weeks, but you never know.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, you can bring this product, but we yet to see those products at scale. So we saw a lot of MVPs, we saw a lot of startups that launched, but we didn't see, we haven't seen actually the product with million use. We haven't seen the products that were white coded with the, like, onto the enterprise level. So it can help you launch, and probably it can help you get some first traction and probably raise money. But then you spend those money for hiring developers to
Real people to do the real work.
yeah. So the developers to fix your tech debt, and it's not at this point it's not one-man startup because you already hired developers. The second leverage from AI is marketing, and you can with the tools like Level Labs or Agen, you can create dozens avatars, and you can create your own army of influencers and bring dozens of videos, hundreds of videos every day, and reach some point of virality. But everyone else can do the same, and so you don't have unique advantage here.
So you need to be whether smarter or have like 30 hours per day.
Yeah, you have to have something unique to bring to the market, because everybody else can scale this way using all Level Labs, Agen, and creating an army of AI influencers. And we also see a lot of startups that are actually AI wrappers, like the thin layer of over existing LLM, like OpenAI or Anthropic, or etc. And you can bring these products really quickly as well, but again, everybody else can do the same. And especially OpenAI or Anthropic can bring this feature as in their product, in their core product. So it's not defensible. So I think that AI will not bring one-man unicorns, but what I think that using these three types of leverage, AI can bring 9 figures companies with 2 to 5 persons, and usually a couple of years before to reach 9 figures revenue, you have to have like hundreds of employees.
So it's like a new level of unfair advantage.
It's new level, but I don't think we reach the points where one man can build unicorn. But I think we can have many companies with 3 to 5 employees, founders or employees, who can reach 9 figures revenue.
Okay, yeah. Rika, and you're working on the edge, basically with very cutting-edge technologies like AI, quantum, and in this area, is this somehow different? And what investors are looking for? I mean, are those compute costs or what is it?
I always sit at the edge. That's also usually do. Let me reflect on your question and kind of participate together with what Radomir was saying. So, back in 2006, I was leaving Accenture, and a friend of mine called me and said, "Hey, do you know anything about mobile? We're here, many of you here for Mobile World Congress, GSMA, because mobile, for those of you who are as old as me, if you can remember, it was revolutionary, it's going to change everything. And in Japan, Docomo launched iMode before iPhone and all these things. So this is 2006, and I knew some things about mobile because I had worked it back in Japan in early 2000. And she said, yeah, you know, I'm at this company, and so I flew from New York to Santa Clara. I had 8 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock, whole barrage of interviews, and then I got the job. And that Christmas, my brother was and is a PhD in computer science. I said, Mario, I'm so excited. I'm at this company, and he's like, oh, what is it? And I said, that's NVIDIA. He's like, what's NVIDIA? And he was a computer scientist. I was like, what do you mean? They do GPUs. He said, what's a GPU? Okay, so then the following year, that Christmas, I said, hey Mario, Jensen's getting all this flack for investing in CUDA. He's like, what's CUDA? I said, software for GPU. He's like, why would you write software for GPU based on what he had now learned over the year? And the reason why I bring this up is not because I want to go to that painful place of when I sold my NVIDIA shares when I left in 2010. Otherwise, I would be up here with my own family office and investing in every start of the pitch tonight. That's beside the point. And there's more to life than money, which is another point, but I'll come back to that. And so Jensen almost went bankrupt a couple of times with NVIDIA, right? NVIDIA was started in the mid-1990s. By the time I joined, it was already almost a decade old, well past the startup stage. And now look at where NVIDIA sits in this entire narrative and ecosystem of what's happening. And so I think one of the questions, I think before you answer a question, sometimes for me, when somebody asks me a question, I always think, would I frame the question that I would ask me of any kind of value I could bring to the answer differently? Because for me, it's like, okay, is the goal to be a unicorn or a decacorn or what have you? Or is it going to be about, and the whole being obsessed, and one of the traits of a founder is, I think, the way that I characterize it as being mission-driven. Jensen is mission-driven. I was at NVIDIA when we were in 2701 in just that corner before it became this huge building over on the other side of San Tomas Expressway. And this ties back to the world that I'm inhabiting, as you say, with quantum. So quantum right now is at a stage where it feels like that Christmas conversation, where when I say quantum, I guarantee there's probably a couple hundred people in this room. You say quantum in a room of 10 people, you're going to have 1,000 different interpretations of quantum means, and also like, well, what does quantum have to do with classical computing? So for me, and I'm doing a PhD on this at a European university on quantum and AI, is I think that quantum is going to create a significant shift, and not that it's going to replace AI, it's going to augment AI, but it's going to bring about a phenomenal change. So if I meet an entrepreneur that has a really compelling startup in quantum, am I going to measure them to say, well, are you going to be a unicorn in 7 to 10 years? Probably not. Are they perhaps going to be part of a movement where they will be the cornerstone, where they will enable other unicorns and create just a transformation in how we think about intelligence? I think so. So I think the timing now for me is less about, are we going to see the AI exponentials, which is a friend of mine, Ray Wang, and the Bay Area coined this term AI exponentials, which is having solopreneurs that become unicorns. I think we're entering an era where, yes, it is about a lot of these different things that are converging, because quantum is 100 years old, at least the principles of quantum mechanics, 100 years old. Are we entering an era where there's going to be some really interesting breakthroughs around quantum computing, quantum infrastructure, and quantum security? Absolutely. And some in a hugely negative way, so whoever is going to solve the problem isn't going to make the Earth better or humanity better. They're just simply going to help us avoid trillion-dollar risks in global economies. Right? But then there is the other side of it that I think is going to spawn a lot of different ways that we might even fundamentally reimagine our existence and how we fit in the matrix. Sorry, the world. I'm kidding. I don't think we're in the matrix, but I'm happy to be wrong. So yeah, so that's what I would. That's my reflection here. And then as somebody that does invest in a couple of funds, I'm a limited partner with one fund that invests in women-founded startups. And this fund actually is when the woman is the founder, not a woman that starts a company then brings a male co-founder to be her CTO. No, nothing bad about that at all, but it's interesting that Julie has decided to just be really focused on that. And then I invested in another Procopio that invests in women founded with co-founders and men and whatnot. So I think that is bringing some really interesting opportunities, going back to the first question around women's health. Because especially for women that are in leadership positions today in corporate and public sector, like the whole menopause conversation has been fascinating. Perimenopause, menopause, And this is really gray area in the traditional medical field because the doctors just don't know much about it. So as more women come into this women's health arena, it's yielding some interesting outcomes. In addition to, and going back to space tech, you know, there's just the physiology that's different for women as we have more women astronauts, or even like race car driving. Did you know that race car driving is predominantly male-dominated simply because the physics of the sport hasn't created an environment that enables women who have a lower center of gravity to participate in the sport, and race car driving is hugely taxing physically. And so, yeah, I think that it's a really, really exciting time, and quantum is an area I'm particularly intrigued by and personally passionate about. And I also think that there's an incredible opportunity for universities outside of Silicon Valley to now demonstrate where solopreneurship can extend into where they can scale to become part of the ecosystem of impactful and responsible innovative startups.
Thanks. This entrepreneurship thing, I know that some of you might have kids in the room, and if you're founders, entrepreneurs, you would like them, you know, to give this business acumen. And I think it's also important, you know, to teach this entrepreneurship skill for like since school age, because those skills are fundamental in life, whether you decided to join a corporation or, I don't know, work in SME, have your own small cafe. It's just like, you know, the self-reliance, strategic thinking and stuff. So those are mindset things.
Definitely.
And we're at the end. So my last question to all of you. So 2026 is about AI agents, and now AI agents can like ship, market, do whatever with the product. So what's going to be the role of the founder in the next year?
The role of the founder is going to be the person that has a purpose and a mission that's able to galvanize other people to rally around, either to help them build the startup, help them to have the startup be something that's relevant, and help them to basically propel us forward past the noise and past all the drama that is fundamentally so detrimental to who we are as a creative species here on Earth. And so that founder's role is really going to be really that leader, the visionary leader that is able to drive all the great things that it means to be a global society forward.
Radomir?
I just want to agree with Rika, because the founder is the previous years. The founder was limited with technology or markets, or market industry and market locally, geographically. But today there's no limits. You can build anything. You can launch and market it everywhere. So the vision and the product and the empathy is the core value for founder, and I think the founder should be the visionary person. Yeah.
Can I just do not a shout out? I don't know what this would be. You tell me, but I think that what happened recently with Anthropic is an example of what I think the modern founder should do, is to stand up for certain principles, no matter what that's going to mean for its addressable market with the military and defense theater and that whole platform. I'm not trying to chastise any government or anything like that, but just to bring home a point of what I see to be the spirit and energy that I think is profoundly instrumental in terms of how any of us can continue to advance.
Yeah, and this is about consistency. It's not about the business. So you're like in line with your values, and you're like value driven till the end. And we have time for 3 short questions. So are there any brave people in the rooms?
Please don't ask me how much my Nvidia stock would be worth right now. I'll tell you over drinks.
Anyone? I know that you're all tired, but okay, we have a brave person in the room.
Thanks for the insights. The question would be the following: what is the second most important thing you look in startups and pitch decks after the founding teams and who actually will work on the startup?
Competitive moat. Competitive moat. I mean, at the same time that things have become easier, more affordable, and more accessible, by the same token, what is it that's going to prevent you to be able to have either probably second mover advantage in most cases, because the first mover advantage in some scenarios just means you get shot down first. Yeah, I think it is, what is your competitive moat?
Anyone else?
Rika, how in your role, tying the traditional business, for example, in a telco or a large enterprise, and the desire to adopt to go into the whole AI revolution, deploying AI, running AI, doing all this. Like, how do you balance these two? Where the earlier one is actually what makes the most of the revenue and money for the company. The new one is potentially the future, or what could be.
And what is your name? Joe? John. I want to thank you for the opportunity to clarify who NTT is. We are not a telco only. More than 80% of our revenue, and NTT used to stand for Nippon Telegraph and Telephone. We don't do telegraph anymore, and telephone is less than 9% of our revenue. We're 340,000 people around the world, and we're in every major market. We do close to $100 billion in revenue. And so as a technology solutions provider, the whole AI area is one that we're very tuned to. And to your point, we realized that what we needed to do, even though we went down this journey of providing AI solutions to enterprise, we realized that we needed to have a very close touchstone to more what was happening in the startup ecosystem, because things are moving so fast, that we have established a company called AI Vista that's based in Silicon Valley, not because Silicon Valley is the only place where we can have that touchstone, but simply because we want to work with these startups that are moving so quickly to make sure that we are focusing very specifically on subject matter expertise about a specific industry for the application of AI. And we can then bring the smart people in the room, figure out what applications or use cases are cross-pollinate to other industries. But to get the first value of AI and to yield the results that then can scale, we need to be able to bring both the bright and creative minds of the startups that are nimble and fast, because when you're a 340,000 person organization, or like any other person that's kind of gone into the world of entrepreneurship within enterprise, is then to also make sure that we're being really attuned to the specific enterprise and specific industry. And what's interesting about that challenge is that the industries themselves are also being disrupted. So, when I was in high school in Japan, I had a crush on the guy that always did the DJs at the dances, and so I made this excuse that I wanted to learn how to DJ. And one of the first things that I realized that he was mastering was that, and I'm going to show my age, but with records, when you're mixing songs with records for the musicians in the room, if you have a 45 and then you have like a regular record, you can see the speed at which the songs are moving, and you have to really be able to know when to merge a certain speed of the dots around the record with the dots that are going this way in a way that it's syncopated and elegantly transfused versus cacophonous and just jarring to your ear. I kind of feel like that's the lesson of like a large record and a small record somehow coming in to make a beat that makes everybody want to dance. So.
Thanks. And last question. This one would be hard. And here's our Olympic torch.
Rika, you were talking about NVIDIA in the times when nobody actually knew it. In the company, in the situation like NVIDIA in that times, what one key change would you see as a necessity to transition into a company which is in startup after 20 years being like in just a company? What is the key change, one or two things that comes to mind?
If I really knew the answer to that question, I wouldn't have left NVIDIA, let alone sold my stock when I left. I would hazard to say that, so when I joined NVIDIA, I joined the mobile GPU business unit, right? Remember my friend asked me if I knew mobile, because Jensen was trying to do a discrete GPU on a phone. And the use case was H.264 acceleration for video. And the design win that was the low-hanging fruit was Telecom Italia, because soccer fans wanted to be able to watch a match on their phone. And the problem was the battery life, the energy envelope was just destroying battery life. It was making the phones hot, and there were just a lot of issues. And so very early on, even though Jensen had put a lot of money into the GoForce, was the name of the product alongside GeForce, was to then terminate that program. And then what he did was he got a lot of bright minds in a room and moved to an application processor architecture for a mobile phone device and GPUs. And in some ways, some people will say that some of that transition that happened to fit the form factor of a mobile phone and an application processor architecture was some of the kernels that then fed into where things are today around how GPUs are being used in AI. So I think it's just really being able to cut your losses instead of having, the gambler's mindset, the people that keep playing poker because they're like, I just already lost $2,000 and I'm gonna win it back, and I've just sunk too much in, sunk fallacy or something like that. So I think it's about being able to recognize when you need to cut things loose, because it's an opportunity cost too, right? Especially if you're a startup, you're just resource constrained. So if you pursue one route because you just want to be like, well, I'm gonna pivot too soon, and then it's an opportunity cost for a different direction that might actually yield you results faster.
Thanks. So we're at the end of the panel discussion. So mission-driven founders, this world was definitely going to need you in 2027. Thank you for joining us, Rika, Radomir, and Oscar. Thank you so much for your wisdom.
Just a few words about why our startups today compete. So, okay. So guys, why our startups compete today? So we have several prizes from our partners. First of all, it's a prize from our prize partner, Spendbase, and Ukrainian Startup Fund. It's $25,000 in AWC credit for the pitch competition winner. Also, we have 1 week in headquarters internship sponsored by Glovo for the best Ukrainian startup. And we have 1 year applied multi-channel plan valid in $1,000. So that's all about our prize, about our remuneration, and I think it is time when the team UAtech team is ready to announce the winners of
thank you so much. So guys, it's been a really long evening and a big conference. We are finally ready not to waste your time anymore and announce our winners. And the first, I hide it. First will be Best Female Founded Startup, which is boom 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 boom. I need some music. Customize. Congratulations. Really great speech. Thank you so much. Next one is Best Ukrainian Funded Startup, which is GetPin. Great job. Thanks everybody for all your applause and for supporting. And the last one, but not least, is our pitch competition winner, which is Grasshopper AI Mobility. All together, just one picture all together. All the winners. Yeah, you're still full of energy. How do you do it? Winner helps you boost your energy.
More energy.
They're ready to roam the stage. That's it. This is probably the most important part was why all of us joined. Thank you so much from my side. I was honored to invite all of you to see you here. And for our wrapping up words, I will pass the mic again to Oksana.
I think we need to make a photo together with all the stuff.
Yeah, we'll not to invite them over.
Guys, that was a real pleasure to spend this time with you. Next time we will have pitch song competition. How you can follow in us? So you have a QR code, and this is our future events in other location. We invite you to join us, and we will be very happy to see you next time in other city, in other location. It was really, I was really glad to spend this time with you. So good evening, and we continue with our networking. This is scan code, and you can follow us via LinkedIn and via our website.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for joining us. Welcome to have some drinks, some snacks. Catering is serving for you here. And enjoy the rest of the night.
Фотал вас троих.
Да?
Игорю скидываю, говорю, уголок банкира. Я был на всяких там презентациях, там был.
Дякую, що написала. Так. Що б ти написав? Stay in Barcelona?
Я відразу кажу, він каже, хай IQ, але він якось не проявляє його ознаки.